All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first SPFBOX author panel blog. And I'm so excited to be here with everybody. My name is Katherine. I'm a USA Today bestselling dark fantasy author. This is my second year doing SPFBO. First year doing SPFBOX, like everybody. The self-published fantasy blog off is organized by Mark Lawrence. This video is not in any way affiliated with Mark or SPFBO in general, except that we're all participants chatting about our books, chatting about being part of it. But you should definitely follow Mark's blog if you want all the news. So we have Day on, we have Noreen on, we have Kareem on, Amy's on, Steve is back. Kareem is back too. Kareem is who we have to thank for SPFBO News Weekly. Isn't that idea in last week's SPFBO?
But you're the one who make it reality, so all the credit goes to you, Katherine.
Every time someone's like, "This is a great idea," I was like, "It was Kareem's." It was Kareem's
Now
idea.
I'm glad to help.
More praises due. But we're going to talk about books at SPFBO and our writing. And Steve, why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about what brought you back to this craziness for the second year. What book do you have in?
So I'm just excited to be able to say SPFBOX on like video now. I was like, I am ridiculously hello. So excited to like just be in SPFBOX because it's called SPFBOX. And then there's gonna be SPFBOXy and like SPFBOXy, I guess. So I'm easily amused. I really want to come back because I just had a blast last year, and although it's this sort of like weird masochism where like, you know, it takes over your summer in a lot of ways. There's a lot of anxiety about that up in it as well, but it's just so much fun. It's wonderful reading all of the reviews as they come out, all of the excitement that everybody has for it, and just meeting new people. There's a bunch of new authors I don't know this year, so like it's really exciting to kind of see new books and new faces, as well as like people returning. So this year, I guess in a bit of an upset for me. Originally, I was planning to submit my lesbian Viking book, which is currently called So Sing the Barrows. But I really would have had to rush to kind of get that out in time. And so I decided to submit my queer horror comedy, The Erstwhile Tyler Kyle, instead. And I'd wanted to do that previously, but I was nervous about it because it is a horror book. You know, that's not going to be everybody's jam, obviously, in something that's not a horror contest. And although, like a lot of people, you know, have said, yes, it is, you know, fantasy enough to be in the contest, that's not immediately obvious. And so I was a little bit worried. But Esme Rosaline, who had read the book, sort of was like, no, you should enter it. So I was really grateful, you know, and I took that seriously because she's a SPFBO judge, so she would be able to kind of have a sense of like, is this okay to enter or not? So should I say something about my book now? I forgot to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, after the finalists having E.C. Greaves in there, Daughter of the Beast, I'm like, you are good.
Awesome. So The Erstwhile Tyler Kyle is, like I said, a queer horror comedy. It's about cryptid hunting YouTube darling who gets sent a video of his presumed dead B-movie bombshell mother that lures him to an isolated island in the Canadian wilderness that was once a gay conversion camp and may house the monsters he swears aren't real, all kind of while fleeing like the straight co-host whom he drunkenly made out with. So there's a lot on the go in his life. It's queer and it's funny, but hopefully it's also a little bit emotionally affecting as well. So it deals with some heavy stuff, just with a bit of a cheeky smile along the way, I guess.
Yeah, so we're keeping some of the stuff we loved from your submission last year, but in like there's a little more wit.
Yeah, they're very different tonally and like stylistically, they're very different. But there's like some common themes and that kind of thing, I think. So, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and plug this here for anybody who hears about the books on this panel or any of the other panels, because we have a lot of panels between now and next Saturday. We're going to have over 75 people on for these blitzes. So if you hear books that catch your interest, the links are in the description box on YouTube, so you can go ahead and grab them. start reading your SPFBOX books before the judges even do, unless you're on Weatherwax team, in which case, no luck for us. Amy, welcome. It's good to have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your SPFBO book? Oh, you're muted.
Mute.
Technology problems there. Hi.
Hi.
This is my first time participating in this contest, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've already had a great time getting familiar with the community, and really looking forward to this summer, although the whole description of it as craziness has me a little like, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. I think something Katie said last night, we had the SPFBO 9 finalists come on in like 2 panels, and Katie said, taking away to unplug a little more helps. And someone said in the first finalist panel, that you have the permission to leave and come back and leave and come back. It's like you can unplug a bit and then come back and check things.
It's a very active community, for sure.
Oh yeah, the community's fantastic.
It
if anything, I think it's just a little bit of stress, wondering who's gonna fall when. But yeah. So which blog are you assigned to this year?
I believe, good Lord, I honestly don't recall the name of the blog. It's I'm sorry, I am blanking on it right now.
You are in Before We Go blog, which is
that's what it's called.
Yeah,
awesome.
And whenever.
And so my book is called Seeds of Inheritance. It has a cover that I am very, very pleased with. And it is about a decade after a failed revolution, a disgraced member of an elite mystical order slaves for her bitter former mentor while she grooms her reluctant daughter to win the war that she lost. And the main themes in here are like, it's elves in space, and there's a very thorny mother-daughter relationship, and the overall theme of the book is about recovering from failure. I myself I practice Filipino martial arts, and there are several knife fights in this book. There's quite a bit in this book that was a response to Dune. Like I love the book, but the female characters are all background, and I would like to bring them to the forward.
And pointy.
Oh, very pointy. So pointy.
Oh, that's awesome. And good luck too.
Thank you.
There's so many good books. And Kareem, you came back. I was so excited to see your name on the list. Tell us what you got this year and what brought you back.
It's good to be back again. This is hello. First, I'm Kareem Suleiman. I write mainly fairly grim, action-packed epic fantasy. This is my 3rd SPFBO. And the question is why I'm doing this to myself. Maybe I'm addicted to self-torture now. It's, one of my hobbies, aside from writing, is pressing the refresh button. It's really very, very satisfying, especially as with the competition starts and the deadlines came closer. So it is really fun. No, seriously. Aside from the semifinalist badge that I got from the first time, I think the biggest win that I had from SPFBO was the community and the lots of authors and friendships that I made through the competition. Because the thing is, I was self-published before SPFBO, like for 4 or 5 years, and writing was for me a very lonely thing. I was all on my own. I barely knew like a few fellow authors, but SPFBO was like like a kid who entered Disneyland. It's different. It's a whole big world of bloggers and writers and whoever is interested in fantasy in particular. So I even through SPFBO I met authors in person, so it was really exciting to me. So, and we are still in contact so far. I think this is the big win for, I think, for all those who enter SPFBO. The community is the biggest win for this. Met a lot of amazing people, and of course, if you get lucky and go for the next round, it's fine. If you get access, fine. We keep cheer from the sidelines. There will be a blood path, so expect a lot of blood in because we start at 300 and we get fewer and fewer as we approach May. So there will be blood. So be ready.
Yes, and all in a good way, though. As much as we talk about this, the craziness of it all and the tension of it all, it's all good fun because of the community, which is why we're here. And Mark, if you're watching, we love this. Please don't end SPFBO.
Yeah, it's really fun. And we have seen, the thing is that when you put into in mind that uh, being cut doesn't mean that your book is bad or something. It's writing the subject and reading our subjective things. You might fall into, it might work for some readers, and your luck might put you into the hands of the reviewer that their taste does not match. So it doesn't mean that, come on, Ryan Cale was cut from Rob J. Hayes. We're talking about some big names that didn't make it to the next rounds. That doesn't mean by all means, and nobody can say that their books are not good enough. So if you keep this in mind and try to enjoy the competition, I think it will be a very fun experience. That's why I'm here for the third time.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the book you got for us this go round?
Yeah, this time I picked my old boy, The Warrior's Path. It's this one was published like 7 years ago. I decided, I was running out of first books, so I thought, why not? Let's go with it. It's simply a redemption tale. It's about the My Granian universe is like made in 2 series on 8 books. This is the one that kicks everything about from the start. It's about a young warrior who is a kinslayer. Actually, spoiler alert, he kills his father, and he wants to seek redemption, and the guilt is killing him, so he seeks a new start in a new world, which is the world of Gorania. And for some reason he believes that becoming a vigilante would be his therapy for his restless soul. Imagine like Bruce Wayne in the medieval setting, but instead he is the one who killed his father, and this is where things becomes bigger than he wished for. He started like fighting small gangs, and suddenly he finds himself involved in bigger issues than he swallowed more than he can can chew.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell my book. I wish, and honestly and sincerely, all the best of luck to Amy, my my fellow Before We Go blog neighbor. By the way, this is my second time I'm with Before We Go blog, so hopefully for the best.
Yeah, some great competition in that blog. I was like, not that there's not in other blogs, but I was like, oh goodness. Last year I was a fantasy book critic, and I remember reading through the names and just going, oh no. Because I was a reviewer before I started like self-publishing my own stuff. And I remember having actually given several of those people 5s, and I hardly ever give 5s, like maybe 15 to 25s a year. And I was like, oh no, there's like 4 5-star reads in my blog. Yeah. It's good to know I'm going down among the best. And it was great. The finalists for last year were fantastic all around. I mean, everybody's books were great, but I was like, it's an honor to know that these people are repping indie, is all I got to say. So this year, again, it's like, oh, there's a lot of good ones. A lot of good ones. Hey, Luna. Hey, Sasha. Feel like the Dune movie really makes the female characters more important. Yeah. Yeah. So, Noreen, is this your first year doing SPFBO?
No, I'm a veteran.
Yeah, I was like, I don't recall if you were on last year's Blitz or not, but I was really excited just to get to meet you.
Cool. No, I think I had a book that was sort of disqualified early on in last year's SPFBO. We normally just call it SPFBO. I don't know. This is like the first time I'm actually hearing people say it. So, but like between me and my friends, we always just call it the SPFBO because we like making life difficult. No, I had a little YA novella out called Dragon Forged, which was with the previous one. Where is it? I have it on my shelf here somewhere. Ah, here we go. This was last year's book, which has got
cover.
And that little dragon is actually by one of my best friends, Kat Hedison. And they, I said to them when they painted it, I said, use your dog as a model. And they had this dog that was like their favorite dog, and unfortunately the dog's passed away. But so this is basically like an homage to their dog. And yeah, so I mean, obviously, look, I think the main problem with that book was it was too short. And that's half the reason why I ended up sort of self-publishing it, because it was a finalist in a major literary award here in South Africa, but also it was disqualified because it was too short. So I quite like short fiction, but now I've sort of turned everything on its head, because 5 years ago, my best friend Toby and I were sitting there. We had both won a major literary award. We'd been flown up to Joburg from Cape Town, and we've known each other for years. And when we both knew that we were finalists for the Sanlam Prize for Youth Literature, I said to him, Toby, wouldn't it be funny, if us two weirdos, because fantasy is not very big here in South Africa. And wouldn't it be funny if both our books were finalists, and we go up to this glittering social event, these two morbid, like goth-like characters, and lo and behold, we both won, and we were both flown up to Joburg for this glittering event at this really Rani mall. And we both, I got gold, he got silver, and we taken back to the hotel afterwards, and we sat there in the sitting room afterwards eating leftover chicken, because the publisher was a bit cheap about taking us out for dinner. They promised us dinner, and we ended up with cold chicken. But that's okay, because we sat there in the sitting room, and I said to him, yeah, man, we really need to write a book together. Yeah, no, that sounds like fun. Because now I've edited him numerous times. He was a winner of the SA Horror Fest Bloody Parchment short story competition, and he's been in a couple of the anthologies, and I'm the editor and curator of that whole thing. So it seemed like a natural thing for us to sort of team up and write together, which is what we've done. And like over the years, both he and I have entered the SPFBO. Sorry, I'm never going to be able to say it properly. We have entered a few times. We've both had books that have done quite well. I think one of my previous books, in Kana, that was it got eventually, as you said, as Karima says, your book gets to a certain point and it just hits a reviewer who it's just not their cup of tea, and that's what happened to the book. So I mean, I don't get salty about that. It's just life, and it's always just fun, like pitching yourself against all the other MDs and seeing what happens. So Toby and I sat in that sitting room until about 12:30 that night, and we came up with the idea for a trilogy. It was a great idea for a trilogy. Well, book one we wrote, and this all happened during the COVID lockdowns when there was a whole lot of uncertainty. So I just said to Toby, we're going to put all the things we like that we want to see in a fantasy book. And it got very eclectic, because I like ancient Egypt and he likes sort of Viking style barbarians. And we wanted to have pirates, because I like Pirates of the Caribbean. And I also like the idea of putting like reanimated mummies in there. So there's that as well. And demons and chthonic deities and mad gods and elves, lots of elves, and dragons and mammoths. And it was just basically a whole bestiary of like crazy things that went into it. And it's just, anyway, but we wrote book one and we got about halfway through book two and we realized, oh, sugar, it's not going to be one book. So we thought, oh, well, we'll make from trilogy to 4 books. And then we got halfway through book 3 or 4, and then we realized it's actually 5 books. So we ended up writing a 5-book series. It was supposed to be a trilogy. It's completely bonkers. It's sort of like combines our love of role-playing games and video games, and Tomb Raider meets Indiana Jones by way of Assassin's Creed with a side order of Vikings and Cthulhu. So yeah, that's basically it. And so far I've got 2 people that have just read it, because the book actually only came out last week. I've got people that already told that it was just absolutely exactly what they need. And I tell people, if you're looking for a sword and sandals kind of read that's completely nuts, that's going to completely dance over the graves of all the tropes out there, that's the book you want. It's got witty dialogue, and it's not just me blowing my own horn. Toby's really good with dialogue. I'm really good with descriptions. He's And between the two of us, we just basically let rip. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Yes, and congrats to Toby too, if Toby's watching or watching the replay. Getting this one in.
I don't know if he will be because he's not really much for social media person. But if he is there, hi Toby, I'm taking the hit for you today because he doesn't like having his face on screen. I'm the one who's forward facing. Considering that I've been on daytime children's TV that's been live and narrowly missed being covered in this time.
There's no harsher audience than a children's live audience.
Well, it wasn't a live audience, thank goodness, but it was live TV, and
Oh my goodness.
that was an interesting experience. It's not quite as nerve-wracking as doing a live stream. Live stream is that's easy. Try spending an hour in the makeup chair and then not recognizing yourself in the mirror.
Well, send Toby all our wishes for good luck, even if they prefer to not be on the screen. That's good. And Day, it is so exciting and also terrifying to see you with me this year.
I'm doing fine.
I love your work. Day has been
Thank
on
you.
the channel before. You can actually go and see other interviews with Day in the author live chat playlist. But to see you at SPFBO was so exciting. I was just like, oh, yay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book you're bringing in? Is this your first year?
Yes, it's my first year, and I've been publishing for a while, and I've always heard about this. And they said, first I was in YA, and people said, we need more female authors in this competition. We need to go in and represent. And then when I was more into romantic fantasy, we need more romantic fantasy authors. Let's go in, let's go in. And I'm always like, I'm not going to be a finalist. I'm not going to win. What's the point? But now, like, it was a friend of mine that entered last year, Brendan Noble. He didn't enter this year, but it's like, but I realized that it's not about winning. It's like what Karen was saying. It's about the community. It's almost like a love. It's a celebration of the fantasy indie writing community, and I'm all for it. I totally expect to, not to pass the first round, but it's all good. This is my book. Okay, so let's see. Yes, it's funny, I guess, like Steve's. It's totally fantasy romance. It's my first book that's first person present. Usually I write third person past. So she's a substitute for a princess, and she's from her kind has been mostly killed, so she has to hide who she is. She dyes her hair. Her hair is purple, but she has to hide it, otherwise she's going to be killed. And she has these dreams about her kindred soul, and she wants to find him, but she can't because she's the substitute for the princess, and she might have to marry in her place even. So she knows she can't do much because her master knows who she is. But she goes out once, and then she's attacked by this disgraced prince, and it turns out that he's the one that she's been dreaming about. And that's that's very embarrassing. Oh, and he can see thoughts, so he's definitely going to see those thoughts, and that's like just mortifying. And that's how it goes. So that's my entry. I don't think people are gonna like it very much, but like I said, it's nice to be here.
I think what's interesting and what I love about this is that, author experience or how many books we put out, like Noreen was saying, it's not the biggest part of this competition. So much of it can vary by blog, but the reviews, and especially the fact that the reviewers seem to take a lot of time and effort trying to be objective with their reviews, makes it so much easier to find your readers in your niche, because there's all these extra eyes. So even though it's like, even if mine doesn't make the first cut, maybe I'll connect with other readers who would like this stuff because of the review. That makes it worth doing. And then the connection with community, and it's great around the board. And you're in Kitty G's blog, and if Kitty's watching, or someone that knows Kitty's watching, when I announced the blogs, I was like, oh, I don't remember seeing Kitty G doing SPFBO 9, which was my first year. So I assumed this was their first year, but it turns out that it is not their first year. So I apologize, Kitty. But I love their channel. I've been watching it, like catching up and going, oh, the reviews are so good. So you're in a good, like, kind reviewers vlog. But yeah, so how do you guys
As opposed
feel?
to all the mean reviewers.
You're going to sort of go around the other way, and Dave will start with you and just go around. How do you feel about going into SPFBO this year? Sort of the blog you've been assigned, the other books you're with. Is this sort of exciting? Is it nerve wracking? Do you have any strategy for like how plugged in you want to be going into the year?
I think I'm gonna try to participate in activities. Like I said, I fully don't expect to go anywhere with my book. I'm totally expecting it to be hated, but it's fine. Um, there are many, many good books in the same blog that I have. I don't know how she's going to choose. I mean, at least that I know of. There might be some hidden gems yet, but I'll try to participate in community activities like here and do as much as I can, because that's what I felt, that it was about the community and celebration of indie fantasy community, and it's a lot of fun to be here.
Yay!
Yeah. And
How about you, Noreen, coming in as the veteran in the group, besides maybe Noreen?
I would say that it's just, I think what I've appreciated the most about it is a sense of community. And it's also just discovering writers. I mean, one of the books that I read from last year's batch was A Thing Immortal. I cannot remember the guy's name, but it's this weird Western that I would never have picked up if it hadn't been for the fact that I saw it on SPFBO. So what I really enjoy about it is discovering new writers, and also sort of, as Day has said, participating more. I mean, this is the first time that I've actually sort of had an opportunity to be part of a live streaming event. And it gets exciting when people randomly start talking up books. And it's always fun when it's my own book. But as I said, I'm always on the lookout for books that I wouldn't ordinarily pick up. And I think it's even more important. Events like this are even more important because of the fact that so much has changed in the publishing landscape just in the last year. I'm sure some of you heard about that whole thing about the click farms and the AI written content that wasn't even meant for human consumption, but it's basically just cluttering up Amazon and KU. And I think the problem with something like that is it erodes the trust that readers have in self-published books. So to have an event like this, that even if the book doesn't win, or even it's just part of, even if it's like, I think there's a whole movement of books now that didn't get selected, of people saying, hey, I entered, I wasn't selected, but here's my book. So I think it's very important that we even talk up the books that didn't quite make it, and we give more authors visibility. And I'm hybrid in terms of how I'm published. I have one book out that's with a traditional publisher, but a lot of my books are indie published, because I just don't trust that sometimes the publishers will do well as I see fit with the vision for the story. So this is why indie publishing is so important, and this is why we need to celebrate it.
Yes. Yeah. Kareem, how about you? What's your strategy going into this year? Your thoughts? You've been in your blog before, you said.
My strategy, aside from pressing refresh and praying and watching, that meme with a guy with, bit ready, waiting to be hanged. I feel like this when I was first timers, first time. So, to be honest, this time because I remember how I felt in my first time. I was more, the adrenaline was so high and was taking it more serious. But now I'm just enjoying myself. I'm doing what I did last night. My last two times. My strategy is simply to make new friends and meet new amazing people. Um, Sharing in this events like this, the worst path in particular, because this is already it has already been selling well. So seriously, my objective is anything but sales right so far. It's like to be joining this celebration. And I want just to add on what Nareem was talking about, about establishing SPFBO as a brand. Doesn't matter. It's not about only your book or getting a badge or something. It's mainly about how to make, establish something called SPFBO, that indie fantasy, that indie can make something awesome. So, this is stamp, and I see from, we can see from the traffic that ended up in changing the system of joining the competition, because of, there is a huge, a huge traffic of authors want to participate. We have like 595 authors this year. So I think this is something I want to be always part of. Right now I'm trying to think what will be my first book for the next competition, next version, because so far I have none. So I have to work on this. That's my strategy.
Yeah. Keep yourself busy writing instead of worrying about the other stuff, for sure. Amy, how about you? How do you feel going in and everything?
I really wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, obviously, I'd heard of the contest, but I hadn't really dug into the nitty gritty of how it worked. And I feel like Noreen and Day were saying, and Kareem, that it's a way to discover new authors, because I read a lot, just like all of us, I'm sure. And the community has just been so welcoming and so helpful. And my book released in March, and it's not doing too badly, but it's also like I don't have a lot of ways to get myself noticed yet. This is the first book I've published in a few years, and I don't have a ready-made group of people that are going to be interested in the book. And this is such a good way to get your work out in front of as many eyes as possible and see who resonates with it. I already feel like I've gotten way more than I expected. So anything on top of this is just cream.
That's the way to go in. It's like, yes, I've won by being here and showing up, and you're already kicking off the whole blitz. Like, committed. Steve, what's your thoughts going in this year and about your blog, and especially that you were taking the risk in your mind putting this one out? I was honestly really surprised when I saw the one there, because I guess part of me, the like selfish reader part of me, was like, "Oh, is Steve going to get the new book? Am I going to get to read the new book?" I guess that'll be SPFBOXy next year.
Yeah, it might. Although, like, to be honest, part of me. So, like, the thing is, like, I'm actually like a reviewer on Before We Go blog as well. Which I wasn't last year. Like, when the contest was going on, it was something like I was invited to join the blog after my book had already been cut from SPFBO 9. But I was excited to be involved no matter what, basically. Like, so if I hadn't got in with the draw, I would have been a reviewer. And part of me is like, it might be nice to review next year and give someone else, like, take my book out of the running in a way, out of the lotto. So then there's a chance for someone else next year, basically. And I still get, the benefits of being involved, like all the community stuff and engagement, and I get to highlight books I love, which is super cool. So that might be what I do next year. I definitely will have the book out, so it'll come out this summer regardless. But I just think sort of spreading the love a little bit might be the way to go. So in terms of like strategy, I mean, like I don't have a strategy. It's not one of those situations where you can have a strategy for winning, unlike kind of sports or anything like that. Yeah, it's more about, like everyone's been saying, like the community and getting involved. So like, I spectated a lot last year, and I expect I'll do the same this year. My hours were filled endlessly with the interviews that you do, just like getting to know everybody and like their individual stories and like, what their reasons were for writing the books that they had and what they were passionate about. And that was really golden. One funny thing, like similar to Kareem, I'm actually with the same blog I was last year. So I'm with Lynn's Books and Critiquing Chemists. Sorry?
Same scars.
Yeah, same scars. Yeah. It's funny though.
Hoping you're like, please, I want to find out early.
Yeah. So mine is Lynn's books and Critiquing Chemist, I really enjoyed them. I was so glad that I got them last year because my previous book was kind of like A Song of Ice and Fiery, and Critiquing Chemist has a whole big analysis of A Song of Ice and Fire on her blog. So I was like, oh wow, this is great. So I do think I ended up with like the right blog for sure, even though my book was a cut. I like this book is so totally different that like, you know, I honestly have no idea what they'll think of it. And it might be a different reviewer on the team who reads it as well as the other thing. Because I think it was, I don't know for sure, but I think it was Critiquing Chemist co-blogger, not Lynn, but there's another person who co-reads. And I think she read my book last year. So I'm not sure who I'll end up with this year, but either way, I'm excited. You know, I think all of the reviewers, like no matter who any of us had ended up with, we would have been, you know, in good hands. And it is always kind of like, you know, luck of the draw. Like I saw friends last year get cut because, you know, they wrote YA and their judges happened not to vibe so much with that. And the judges were still professional about it, but you're never going to be able to like cut out that sort of personal taste aspect. So, you know, like if you're a grimdark author and you end up with somebody who only likes romantasy or vice versa, then like that's always going to be a bit of an uphill battle, even if you're a super talented, successful author. So, but yeah, like just joining in community, and I think getting to meet new people, because again, like last year was my first year, so everybody was new to me basically, except for one or two people who I happened to know. And this year, I was surprised by how many more new people there were. And there's already lots of books I'm seeing that I'm really excited to check out. I expect in the weeks to come, you know, like there's going to be more of that sense of like what everybody's books are, and you know, what kinds of genres, what kinds of ideas they're playing with. And I'm just really excited to kind of find out more, I guess, and to, as the blogs start to put out more information, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And to clarify for people who don't know and they're like, wait a minute, Before We Go blog is a judge. Steve is not in Before We Go blog's blog.
No, yeah. Yeah, that never would have, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, Mark and the bloggers are really good about sort of shifting people around so there's not like that conflict of interest. But I am curious, are you having to like turn off your inner reviewer, or are you gonna like hoard reviews of your peers' books and then like publish them all after the first cuts, or like how's that gonna work?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. When I had that dilemma when I joined them, because I joined Before We Go blog in late fall 2023, and there were some books that I was reading at the time, like Patricia Anderson's Daughters of Tith, which was a SPFBO book. And I was doing like my SPFBO positivity reads. Like I had a thread where I was like, you know, giving, like I was reading books and I'd read the whole book and just, you know, talk up the positives of the books, because people, you know, to try and buoy people's spirits a bit. And also it selfishly gave me the opportunity to enjoy lots of new and unusual things. And, you know, like I honestly, I was like, oh, I guess I can't review this on the blog though. I'll just review it on Goodreads. But they were like, basically, you know, past a certain point in the contest, it was okay because, you know, at that point, most of the books had been cut. Like actually the finalists had been announced already at that point. So as long as it was clear on the blog that the reviews I was posting weren't judge reviews. That was the main thing. And for me personally, I wouldn't have felt comfortable posting reviews of the finalists on Before We Go blog, because I think that would have been confusing and perhaps heartbreaking for the finalists. Because what if I loved a book and then the rest of the team had hated it, and so they didn't, you know, like that's not a good feeling. So I wouldn't personally have felt okay doing that. But for any reviews that I write for books for people in SPFBOX, I think I would just review on Goodreads, and I might even, to be honest, just do the positivity thread thing again, because I feel like it's a different circumstance. Like we're peers in the contest, like, you know, I'll review in order to kind of boost people up, but I'm not here just sort of be like, you know, you're in this contest with me, I think your book sucks or something, like, which I wouldn't say anyone who knows me knows that I don't do that. So, but hopefully, but anyway, yeah. So it's like completely mentally separate for me. And also I'm like so behind on reviews that there's basically no sure that like anybody's books are going to get reviewed until like 2027 or something. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been such a good chat. I'm so excited to have you all on. The time really flies fast when you're having fun here in SPFBOX. Thank you all so much for joining. Best of luck to all of you. Again, if you're watching and you join late, you want to grab their books, you can click the links in the description box. Give these people a follow, give the books a read. You're definitely welcome to review the books, even though some of us here on the competitor side are like, oh, we're just going to be like, yay, coast along and read to our heart's content. But we definitely want to hear, we're here to connect with you guys. And I think that's ultimately across the board why all of us do what we do is we're trying to connect with readers. We're trying to connect with fellow authors. So if you want to meet more SPFBOX authors, come back in about an hour and a half because at 4:30 Central, we have the second panel going live and another group of 5 people are going to be on that one. So thank you all so much. I can't wait to see where we go. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.
So much, Katherine, for your efforts.